All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Forbidden Radio, episode 9. My name is Noah, joined by my co host Angel, and we have a guest on today that I'm very excited to have on. He's a new member of Forbidden Origins. His name is Luke, and yeah, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Doing good. I'm glad to be on here with you guys. I binged listened to all of your podcasts before coming on.
That means a lot.
It does.
All right, man. So you're new. You came on with a cadre of other people. I want to say about 6. How did you
Yeah.
find Forbidden Origins, and like what is it that you got brought on to do aside from writing?
Yeah, so let's see. It was about I think it was near St. Patrick's Day. Um, I was thinking I'm 39 years old. I'm gonna be turning 40 this year, and I haven't ever really given this whole writing thing a decent shot. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do my thing. And I started creating a bunch of short story like novella horror ideas, and I started writing those. And I was getting to work on those, and then one night I was just on TikTok, and I had seen Forbidden Origins on TikTok before, and I followed them, and I never thought anything about it since then. And then one of Armani's posts came across my feed again. They were putting a call out for writers, and I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. I'll see what they have to say. So I sent them a message, and then they sent me the email and asked me for some bits of if I had any like writing samples for them. So I picked two of what I thought were my least objectionable writing samples: a science fiction short story and a fantasy short story that I'd written, and sent that to them. And they were all about it. So went to a couple of video chat meetings with them, and they brought me on to be a contributing author. And it's sort of grown since then.
Yeah, you really
Nice.
become a big part of the team quickly. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
I mean,
You're
I've
really
had some ideas.
my bad, bro. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had some ideas, and Armani, he gets super excited about cool ideas, so he just
Yep.
he just steamrolls ahead.
But yeah, I was gonna say before I interrupted you, dude. My bad. That you've really become a pretty prominent member of the team. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed talking to you in the Discord chats, and you have a lot of good ideas so far. I'm really excited to work with you to see what we can make together. So
Oh yeah, I'm super excited to work with everybody. Like everybody's got the same kind of vibe. We're all kind of in the same headspace of like collaboration and creation, and you know, we all do this because we really love creating cool things. And when you have those ideas to bounce off of each other, it just you kind of like feed into each other. And because we're all focused on the old universe right now, it just keeps steamrolling and building bigger and bigger. And with so many different minds working together, I can't wait to see all the different things we come up with. I was actually talking to one of the other new guys, Justin, earlier today, about the blog that we're starting for the old universe.
Oh yeah. For anyone listening, we're gonna be starting to do blog posts. A lot of us writers at Forbidden Origins are gonna start posting. I think they said maybe twice a week blog posts. From like the perspective of characters in the in world, basically in the old universe lore. Uh, was that your idea, by the way?
I can't honestly remember who came up with the original idea, but it was something that we all met up together. I think it was like 7 of us, and I can't remember if it was Eric or Armani or me that kind of came up with the idea of a blog. And I don't know, one of us mentioned it, and then we all just like steamed forward from there.
Yeah.
great homework. Just playing.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty cool. I like the idea of a blog because I do feel like that'll keep our creative juices flowing.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like it's easier than having to commit to like having to write a whole book or comic or even a short story.
and
Yeah, I
honestly,
mean, the blog is
I'm so sorry, dude. I keep interrupting you.
You're fine.
Continue
nah, you're all
continue
good.
yourself. Continue your thought.
Yeah, I mean, the blog, like the goal of the blog is twofold. One, it's we've got some pretty big like times before our like official releases of stuff.
Mhm.
So, and we want to keep building the community, and then two, we get the opportunity to take all of these different small ideas that we have that don't necessarily fit into an anthology or into the main novel or anything like that, and just like a playground to, exercise our creative juices. And you never know, like we could just be playing around with something and then it just sparks something in somebody and all of a sudden they've got an idea for a full-length novel or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way Armani explained it, that it's a good way for us to cultivate the wider fan base, but also to cultivate like our own like smaller fan bases for each writer. Um,
Oh yeah.
I could totally see the. I have a feeling the way it's going to work is we're going to start off with the old universe. Yeah, that's a given. But once we all get our own properties out there within under the banner of Forbidden Origins, it'll be a good way for us to do teases for that, to hype up each other's stories, stuff like that. I can't wait to see how that works too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely excited for that.
Yeah, it's all about community and collaboration on
Hmm.
our end. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I come in with, let's say I was a more successful writer because I've never been published in anything. Like if I had my own fans and then Angel had his own fans and Noah had his own fans and then we come together with Forbidden Origins, then all of our fans can kind of enjoy that together. And we can kind of just like trade back and forth and it brings that community of readers together and it's not like it's like a piece of the pie and we're all like taking little bits of it. It's just we're all sharing the
Hmm.
same pie.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a communism pie.
It's a commune. We're
That's right.
communists.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Luke,
right. Got
Luke,
to
how
share.
would
Got to work
you,
together.
Luke, how would you describe your writing style?
Oh, geez. I mean, there's lots of different ways to define a writing style. So the way that I think about writing styles is I think about it like as I think you guys actually talked about it on one of your podcasts. There's like three different writing styles. There's pantsters who write by the seat of their pants. They have no
Hmm.
idea where the story is going to take them or what's going to happen. They just go. And then there's the plotters who plot every single step of their story and they know exactly where the story is going to go at any given time and they have it all arced out. And then there's the plantsters who kind of like do broad strokes and then they kind of just discover the story along the way. And I'm definitely one of those plantsters because if I do writing by the seat of your pants, I get lost. And if I do complete plotting out every single step, then I get bored.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
usually do like the broad strokes of a story. Like I know the beginning and I know the end and maybe some cool things in the middle. And then I just kind of like write and write and write and figure out the story as I go. Like the short story that I'm doing right now, it has already changed. Like what I thought was going to be the ending of the story changed in my mind. And I was like, oh, this will be a better idea. So I'm just going to do that instead.
Yeah, I think I'm the same way when it comes to writing. Like you said, outlining too much is so boring because then it feels like I already wrote the story without actually writing the story, and I kind of just like lose interest in it. But yeah, also just flying by the seat of my pants, it's like it's kind of overwhelming just trying to come up with everything on the fly. I need like a little bit of structure, but not too much.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, that's a perfectly valid way to write as far as I'm
Mhm.
concerned. And I mean, I
Yeah.
learned all those terms from doing research on different writing styles. And I've tried so many different things. Like I've tried the snowflake method. I've tried doing the Venn diagrams. Like there's the people that have like the writing boards above their
Hmm.
computer, and I can't do
Mhm.
any of that.
Hmm.
That's too much for me. I get too lost.
Yeah, I get overstimulated when I try things like that.
Yeah.
I feel like a dog, like looking around, like this head all fast, like okay, where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go?
Tail
So there's a
wagging.
ball. Oh, there's a squirrel. Oh, there's a
E-
plot hook. Oh, look at
Exactly.
that character.
Exactly. Have you read the Old Universe or Echoes of the Old Universe?
Yeah, I'm about 10 chapters deep into the old universe, book one, and I've only read one short story from Echoes. It was The Energy Within by Dominic,
Hmm.
because a lot of my stories are taking place on Brooklyn and Jargoon Ba, and he had written a short story that takes place on Brooklyn. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go in there and pick out all the little bits of lore that he already established and,
Hmm.
incorporate them into my stories.
Cool, cool, cool. What kind of vibe do you get from the Old Universe? Like, what does it remind you of exactly? Like, if you could put like maybe one or two other stories or movies or something that it reminds you of.
I mean, it's definitely sci fantasy.
Hmm.
It's science fiction and fantasy
Mhm.
Hmm.
together. It definitely
Exactly.
gives me that vibe. So it's got strong vibes of like Dune and Star Wars.
Hmm.
Less Star Trek. Star Trek is like more hard sci-fi. Well, I wouldn't call it
Yeah.
hard sci-fi. It's pretty
Yeah.
soft sci-fi, but it's more techie
Yeah.
sci-fi.
Mhm.
Whereas Star Wars is that nice combination of like technology and magic. I
Hmm.
mean, doesn't matter how you swing it. Like the force is magic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
That's
I agree. Okay, yeah,
so yeah, it's definitely sci-fi fantasy.
yeah, I agree. I think if you've heard the other podcast, which I know you have, like I make a big comparison to Dune. Dune, I think, is probably the most, in my opinion, the most apt comparison in regards to science fiction. That's what drew
Mhm.
me to it, because their early marketing that I saw from TikTok for Forbidden Origins, when I saw the old universe, I just instantly thought Dune, and I saw a lot of this marketing. I think right after Dune came out, the first one. I think that's when I first saw it. But it drew me to it instantly, and that's what hooked me into the old universe in general. You know, and then I became part of the team. I'm just
Yeah,
like, fuck yeah.
yeah, I still haven't seen the new Dune movies. I'm scarred by the old Dune movie.
Hmm. Yeah, that shit was crazy.
Was it
Yeah, I
bad?
watched that when I was real young, and I was like, I do not understand what's going on. These people are all dressed really weird. It's uncomfortably sexual at
Yes,
points. Like,
Oh.
yes.
here are all these guys like all oiled up, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't get this. And I was just
Would you
like a
say this
little
was
kid.
called?
What happened?
What's that?
I'm just kidding.
No, what'd you say? What'd you say?
Uh, I said, would you
But
say this
yeah,
movie
I
was
just
called?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, no, yeah. They made the Harkonnens incredibly sexual in
Really?
yeah.
in the old '80s movie. Um,
Oh yeah, it was real weird. It had some real weird vibes, and I get it. It was the '80s. That was just kind of their vibe back then. But like, man,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good.
yeah, the cocaine was strong back then.
Very strong. The white dust. Let the dust flow.
Exactly. We should bring that back for FO, so we get our writing, our creative juices flowing. So Luke, here's another question. Do you want to? Okay, the stories that you submitted in to get onto the team. Do you want to like elaborate like what those were about? You know, I'm interested to hear
Yeah.
like what you submitted, basically, like a plot synopsis.
Yeah.
So for the science fiction short story, I actually got inspired by a writing prompt. I can't remember what the original writing prompt was, but you're definitely going to recognize it because you talked about it on one of your podcasts. There's a movie that's coming out where it takes place on the International Space Station, and like World War III breaks out on planet Earth,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then they start killing each other in the space station. I saw that trailer and I got so mad because like I wrote that short story. Like I saw that trailer and I was like, damn it, they beat me to it.
Mm-hmm.
I hate when that
But
happens.
that's what I wrote is it was called the Omega Protocol, and there's a Russian astronaut on the ship, and then there's American astronaut on the ship, and they get messages from their government saying like, hey, like we're about to go to war, and you need to kill off our enemies on the space station. So it's a story about the American underground operative and the Russian underground operatives like trying to like survive
Mm-hmm.
that they're trying to survive World War III just on their little space station, and it doesn't go well for either of them.
That's sick. I like that.
And yeah, it was a fun story to write. I was very upset that I did not get the movie rights to it before somebody else got to it because now I look like I'm just copying it, even though I wrote it on my phone on a break at work like years ago.
I feel
But
like that
that's
happens
okay.
way too often.
Yeah, it definitely
I
does.
know.
Yeah.
My second short story. So there's a kind of like a grimdark fantasy world that I'm building, and part of the way that I'm doing the world building is I'm writing like short stories in that take place in that world
Mm-hmm.
to kind of help me figure out like the lore of the world, like as I write, just like figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Siren Song, and it's about a group of hunters. There's these creatures in their world called Terras, and they're monsters that were created by magic during the Mage War, and they sort of like broke loose of control of the mages, and now they just run rampant over the planet. And there's a bunch of them that dwell in the ocean that kind of divides the continent. And these hunters go out and they get them and keep them from like disrupting trading routes and shit like that. So it follows the journey of them going after something called a bull leviathan, and they go out and they hunt this thing, and some people live, some people die, but it's a good time.
Sounds like a good time.
That sounds sick.
Yeah,
Yeah. I would love to read that one.
I want to read
Oh
both.
yeah, yeah. You guys send me your email, I'll send them to you.
Got you.
Sick. All right, all right. Andrew, you got anything you want to ask him?
Um, when you say grimdark fantasy, what exactly do you mean by that? Like, I'm sure, like, we have similar things in mind, but I
Mhm.
just want to know like specifically what you would call.
So think about think about like the Lord of the Rings,
Mhm.
and that's more of like a high fantasy kind of concept. Like there's
Mhm.
lots of
Right.
magic, and it's very like good versus evil. Like the sides are very black and white. Like you know who the
Mhm.
good guys are and you know who the bad guys are, and it's pretty straightforward. And Grimdark is more like Game of Thrones, where everybody's morality is a little bit more gray, and the good guys are good guys, but they still do shitty things sometimes. And the bad guys are bad guys, but they sometimes, become sympathetic villains. So
Mhm.
it's a more of a morally gray world. It's a little bit more downtrodden. There's definitely, at least in my story, there's definitely like heavy themes of like oppression and like rebellion and stuff like that going on, and it's just a little bit of like a dingier world. It's not this nice, clean fantasy world where black and white and good and evil are very clear cut. It's
Right.
this very like sometimes good people have to do bad things and sometimes bad people do good things for different reasons.
Got it. Yeah, yeah. That's really cool. I love that type of stuff. Like I love Game of Thrones. I've been reading Berserk. Um have you seen the show I think it's called Carnival Row on Amazon Prime Video? That one's pretty
I
good.
haven't seen it, but I saw the trailers for it and that looks really cool. I think
Yeah.
that's more like a urban fantasy, I believe.
It kind of it still takes place in like almost medieval setting. Kinda. Maybe more modern than that, but yeah. It's really good. I would
Yeah,
recommend it.
I think it takes place in like the 1800s or around that
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
time.
something like that.
Yeah, so it's like a Victorian fantasy.
Yeah, yeah. But I feel
Yeah,
like
I
it
love
fits
that
that
kind of stuff
like
too.
aesthetic.
Yeah, urban fantasy is another genre that I absolutely love. Have you guys ever read, or do you guys read any urban fantasy?
I've never heard
Uh
urban fantasy. I'm gonna look up real quick. Let me see. Maybe I have.
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've ever read anything in that
All right,
genre.
so
But
check
I
it
would
out. Like
want to.
urban fantasy are like fantasy stories, but they take place in the modern world.
Oh,
So, a good example of that is a series of books by Jim Butcher called the Dresden Files,
I've heard of it.
and
Oh,
yep, it follows the main character's name is Harry Dresden, and he is a detective that lives in Chicago who's also a wizard,
Hmm.
and like he just blatantly like advertises like wizard for hire,
mm,
like no love spells or anything like that. And he's like he does detective work, and it follows his adventures. And there's like 20 books in that series or something like that. But that's where I fell in love with urban fantasy. And I actually have my own urban fantasy world that I'm building as well.
I would love to hear more about that too. Speaking of the Dresden Files, I started reading the first book. Uh, I only got about 30 something pages into it. I found the writing kind of not the best, but I've heard that it gets way better throughout the series. So I'm definitely going to give it another try.
That's totally fair, and you are not the only person that thinks that. Like the
Yeah, I
first book
definitely.
and second book, it's a stutter step. The first and second book, like they're good, but like it's a little bit of a struggle to get through. But once you get to like the I think it's the third or fourth book, that's when the author like really hits his stride, and it becomes a lot more fun after that.
Okay, yeah, that's what I've been hearing because I did look it up. Like I looked up, I went on Reddit on like r slash I don't know books or something, and just typed in Dresden Files to see what people thought of it because I know it's like a really popular series, but I was like reading through the first book and I was like, I don't know how it got that popular with like this sort of writing. Like if you've read it, I feel like you know what I'm talking about. Where it's like it just feels kind of campy, a little like a lot of cliches. Some of the descriptions are kind of not the best for my taste, at least.
Yeah,
But I'll
it
definitely.
very, very much heavily leans into like that noir detective feel, and it just doesn't quite hit the right notes. Like it hits all the tropes, but then it misses some other notes, and it doesn't really have its own personality yet. And yeah, even I think even the author like said in one of his interviews that like yeah, this really hits its stride in book three.
All right, yeah, I'll definitely keep reading those then.
Yeah, I was actually just listening to the audiobook for one of the books earlier today called Skin Game, which is like way later in the series. And that's one of my favorite books in the entire series.
Oh, you read it before? You're doing a reread?
Oh yeah, I reread those books all the time. I'm a big rereader. Like I
Oh,
still have books that I read when I was like a little kid in my bookshelf, and I'll reread them all the time.
yeah, I'm the exact same way. I've reread the entire Percy Jackson series like countless times.
Yeah, it's really weird though, because like some of the books that I like now that I'm 39 and I reread some of these like older fantasy books, and I'm talking books from like the 70s and 80s. There's definitely some notes in there like, ooh, this would not land well in a modern reading world.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like there's
There's a
definitely some
definite
very there's a lot of subtext here, and there's a lot of really like undercover racism and
yeah.
things like that. I'm like, ooh, this is a little bit of a rough read.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dresden Files. I vaguely remember in my local library across the street from my high school. I used to hang out there all the time after school, and I would always see that book series on the shelf. I never picked it up because I don't know. I just something I always wanted to. I just never did. But my dad's read them. He likes them. But he's had that complaint too about the first book. He told me it's because he found out that it was the writer's very first like book he ever wrote.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what I've heard. Yeah.
So
So I
that's
was
a big
listening
thing.
to yeah, I was listening to one of his interviews, and when he was in college, he plotted out like most of the series when he was in college,
Hmm.
and then
Okay.
presented it to his writing teacher and was like, "Yeah, I've got about like 10 to 15 books plotted out. Do you think that would be really good?" And the teacher's like, "Yeah, I think if you can sell a 10 to 15 book series, you'd be doing pretty well," like sarcastically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, you could almost like skip the first two books and like you'll miss some like myth arc type stuff, but
Mhm.
Grave Peril is the third book, and that's where it really starts to like get really good.
Hmm. Okay. I think I might actually give this one a shot. Sounds good.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does. I
and
do
then
like that sort
one
of urban fantasy setting.
yeah, once you get into it, if you want to go back and read the first and second book, that way you can kind of like pick up on some of the myth arc notes,
Yeah.
and you won't be I mean, you won't miss a whole lot, but it makes some references back to the first and second book later in the series that become important, to the
Yeah.
overall arc of the series.
I kind of got a John Constantine vibe from
Yeah.
him
I was gonna
a little
ask
bit.
Luke. Do you consider John Constantine to be like an urban fantasy style? Like,
Absolutely.
yeah. I was thinking that too. Fucking love Constantine. I love
Same.
Oh
Constantine so
yeah, I
much.
do too. Yeah, Constantine is definitely that urban fantasy vibe.
Did you hear
Yeah.
Keanu might come back for a sequel to his universe, to his Constantine universe?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard rumors, but I don't know if it's just like speculation or if it's confirmed.
I think he's at the bare minimum. I heard they're in talks basically to figure out if they're gonna do the sequel or not. Which I'm down. I wouldn't mind seeing him actually cross over with the CW guy. The whole multiverse thing.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
It'd be
I
very
like the
sick.
CW guy.
Yeah, the CW guy is
Oh
amazing.
yeah.
hmm
Multiverses add so many options. So like pulling stuff together. What do you guys think about the new the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer that came out?
I'm excited.
I have not seen the full trailer yet. I've just seen a couple clips from it, like the one where they like were doing like the fight scene from Spider-Man 1, I think,
Oh,
where
okay.
it was like the exact same choreography, I think, as one of the
Oh,
fights.
I've
Yeah.
seen that. I've seen that.
Yeah. That's kind of all I've seen.
I felt like that was reaching, but yeah. I felt
Oh, I
like
don't know. I just saw that small clip. I'm not sure if it's
no. So on
people reach.
Twitter, someone's like, "Oh my god, they're doing the exact same choreography," and I look at it and I'm just like, I feel like we're reaching here, guys, for references. You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be a lot in
Yeah.
our face.
Maybe.
Maybe this might be a bit of a reach, guys. You know. But honestly, I'm
Yeah.
excited for
Must
the
be a
movie
director.
because I think it's gonna be a fun romp. I can't wait to see who the main enemy is going to be. I think we
Mhm.
might. I think it's a misdirect. I don't think it's gonna be that chick. I think it's Professor X's sister. I think that's who it's supposed to be, the bald chick in the trailer. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
might be the man. Do you guys like how much about X-Men do you guys know?
I know
Not
a
much.
decent amount about X-Men, not as much as a bunch of other people. I watched the original like 90s X-Men
Mm-hmm.
cartoon, and I read the comic books when I was younger. I'm not really super up to date on a lot of the more recent stuff. Like I'll see it in my news feed sometimes, and it
Mm-hmm.
gives me like plot summaries of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as reading the actual comic books, it's been a while.
Yeah, so the enemy at least from the trailer, from what I could tell, it's supposed to be Professor X's twin sister that I believe he ate in the womb. But then she came
Yep.
back in the comics. I forgot how, but she's old in the comics too. But from what I could tell, of course, they aged her down. But that might be a misdirect. I don't think she's going to be the main bad guy, but I am very excited to see, because the dynamic between Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds in real life, I think, is really starting to translate through the movie, and I'm really excited to see how that works. So,
Oh yeah, they've got great
definitely wanna watch
chemistry.
it.
hmm the first
Yeah, it
MCU
leaves
movie in a
me
while
like
that I'm excited for.
I'm a little bit worried that it's not going to be as good as everybody hopes it's going to be, just because of some of the stuff that Marvel's been putting out hasn't really been hitting the way that everybody wanted it to.
Mhm.
And like Deadpool has done so well in their first two movies because they were kind of like outside of the Marvel universe.
Mhm.
Yep.
They were just kind of doing their own thing. And now that they're bringing it in, I don't know if it's going to work or not. We'll just have to see. Like, I'm
Yeah, fingers
cautiously
crossed.
optimistic because the vibe seems to be there, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm just got to wait and see.
When does it come out?
July.
In July.
Oh, okay. Almost a couple months.
Yeah, a couple months. I'm definitely going to go see it for my birthday.
Oh, is your birthday in July?
Yep, I'll be 40 in July.
Nice.
What day?
20th of July.
Oh, okay. Coming up on the big 4-0.
Yeah, I'm be turning 40. I still feel like I'm 19 and my body aches like I'm 70.
How's it feel being on a team full of 20-year-olds?
I think it's great. I love working with anybody. Like, age is just a number for me, and it's really just about like everybody's vibe. Like, if you've got good creative juices and you've got good ideas, like it doesn't matter. You could be 17 years old or 60 years old. I'll work with you. Don't matter to me.
I feel
Yep.
that. I appreciate
Yeah,
that too.
that's fair. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like we've been getting along really well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, all of you seem to get along really well, and like you all have great ideas. Like, it doesn't matter what age you are. It's just, like, what do you write? What do you like to do? What's your
Mhm.
passion? Like, show me your passion.
Don't be a dick, you know? Like,
Yeah.
just be
Don't
Yeah,
be
cool.
a
that's a big
dick.
one.
That's a big one. That's
Yeah,
that's the number one principle in life. Don't be a dick.
that's the
Yeah.
thing that I noticed right off the rip. When the first group of us, the first wave of us came together, everyone, no one shat on each other's ideas. No one was like, "Oh, that fucking sucks." It
Yeah.
was always like, "Hey, that's cool." Or if there was an issue, like, we would want to say, "Hey, that sucks," but hey, how about you do this? How about you do that? How about, like, like, we would like talk
Yeah.
to each other. We weren't just like assholes about it. So that's what I
Yeah,
appreciated the most.
felt
Yeah,
very
I mean,
collaborative.
Hmm
like, somebody might have a bad idea at first, but there's positive feedback, which is just like reinforcing the idea, and then there's constructive feedback, which is, hey, like, there's something here, but it's
hmm
not quite right yet. Like, let me help you build it. Like, if you just
hmm
tell somebody like, hey, your idea is shit and you're shit for thinking about it, it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help them, it doesn't help you, and it doesn't help the idea. But if someone comes up with an idea and says like, hey, I see where you're going with this, but what if you do this, and you kind of like bolster up that idea and try to improve upon it to
Mhm.
help them develop it more. Like, that's what
hmm
collaboration is all about. You can't just shit on people's ideas and expect anything good to come of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you know the history of like Marvel, DC, and other creative houses, the early days they would kind of do that a lot. Hey, this is crap. Why the fuck are you doing this? Basically, like, I'm not saying it verbatim, but that's basically how they would talk to
Yeah.
each other. And it's like, well, you're not getting anything good out of that. That's why, like, so many writers and artists from both sides left to different sides. And that's why a lot of them also left to Image Comics in the '90s. It's because they wanted to do their own thing. They wanted to make what they wanted to make without being like restricted and without getting like shit on. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, like, when I compare Forbidden Origins, I compare them to early Image Comics, where it's just everyone's just trying to get like shit done, and they're trying to have a good time, and they're trying to make sure that like the stuff they make is what they want to make. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, the imposter syndrome is strong, and I already think that most of my ideas and most of what I do is shit. I don't need any help.
Yes, I feel
Yeah.
that. I feel
I
that already.
definitely get
I
that.
so feel that. Oh my god, dude. And Eric and Armani they're really cool. They're, even though we're all friends, they're still our boss, but like they're not on you about stuff. They understand that life is life. They don't
Mhm.
demand like things right away. And they're
Yeah,
also
if
they're
any,
always open to calls to talk. That's why I enjoy working with them, working under them.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anything, I feel like I pester them more than they pester me. Like, hey Armani, I've got this idea. Hey Armani, I've got this idea. Hey Eric, I've got this idea. I'm like, oh geez, this guy again? Like Armani made the comment the other day and was like, yeah, remember when I talked to you about this a couple months ago? I was like, it might feel like a couple months, but we only got together in like St. Patrick's Day. All right. It was only last month, man. It just feels like you've known me for a long time because I'm wearing you out.
Luke, what aside from the old universe, is there anything that you want, like any personal stories that you want to write, any kind of like I guess IPs that you want to bring under the Forbidden Origins banner that you want to get out there?
Oh yeah, I've already been presenting Eric and Armani with some ideas. So like I have my own urban fantasy
Mm-hmm.
series that I'm starting to plan out,
Mm-hmm.
but like I kind of put it on the back burner because when I originally planned it out, like I start with like a myth arc. I started with like a myth arc. Do you know what a myth arc is?
No.
Yeah, I was just gonna pretend like I did because I thought Noah did.
No, enlighten us. I think I
No,
might
no,
know what it is, but enlighten us.
yeah, it's all good. So like a myth arc is when you take like a book series or a television series or even a movie series, and so each individual book has their plot arcs.
Yeah.
Each
Mhm.
book has its beginning, middle, and end, beginning, middle, end, beginning, middle, end.
Mm-hmm.
And a myth arc is the story that carries over across all of those books or all of those
Got it.
television
Oh, okay.
shows. So a good example would be like Game of Thrones. The whole myth arc of that is who's going to become the king of Westeros, who's going to
Oh, yeah.
become the king or queen of Westeros. That's the myth arc. And in like the X Files, the old sci-fi show, like
Mm-hmm.
what happened to Fox Mulder's sister, what's going on with the aliens and all this other kind of stuff. That's the myth arc that went through all of those different episodes. Like that was always in the background of the story. Or in the Marvel universe, like it was all about the Infinity Stones, and that's what that myth arc was.
Mhm.
So I started out with an idea. I actually started out with a character by the name of Joby Walker, Monster Hunter, and that's it. I had his name and what he did,
Mm-hmm.
and I've just built this universe off of there. And now I've got this story where I've got three primary protagonists, and they each have their own series of books, and they come together and collaborate in like Avengers style. Like you know, all three of us are going to be fighting this big bad for this story, and this like grand myth arc that goes like I think I had like 18 books plotted out, like basically like the broad strokes of them, and like a bunch of short stories and like spin-offs and stuff like that. And I was like, oh damn, this is too big. I can't write all of this by myself. We're gonna put that on the back burner for now. And then my grimdark fantasy I call the Duelist Saga, which is only like 5 books and then a bunch of short stories. And I was like, okay, this is a little bit more attainable. But then I got lost in the world building because I had like 12 different nations that all exist on the same continent and started digging into how they all operate and stuff like that. And I was like, ooh, all right, I need to take a break from that for a little while. So, like, as far as like big grand stories, like those are the big grand ones. And then there's like a trilogy of books that's horror comedy called, right now, the working title is just Protagonist. And the main protagonist of the story, she's a final girl that survived her horror story, and she knows that she's in a book.
Hmm.
So she
Oh,
talks
I like
directly
that.
to the reader. It's very meta. It plays into all the horror tropes, and she directly addresses the reader, sometimes very aggressively. It's funny. I was part of a writing group in Texas, and like, um, I was in my 30s when I was in that writing group, and I think the next youngest person was like in their late 50s, early 60s, and they were all like established like indie published authors, and like some of them totally did not get what I was trying to do with my meta commentary on horror books. They're like, I don't understand this, and I was like, that's okay, I get it, I know. it's
Old
it's
school
tough,
guys.
it's tough to wrap your head around. I don't even get it sometimes.
I
But
think
we're
that's
trying, we're just playing games.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've got a bunch of ideas. Like I have Evernote, and I was using the free version of Evernote, and they shut me down because they said I had too many notes. If I wanted to write any more, I had to pay them.
Hey, if
But
you
yeah, the
ever need
latest thing that
beta readers, send them my way.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, so dude, I know one of you doesn't really like horror stories.
Oh, I'm not much of a horror guy, but I feel like that's more for movies. I feel like books, I could handle it. It's more just
Yeah.
like the horror visuals that kind of turn me off from it.
Yeah, so my wife, when we first started dating, she told me she hated horror movies because she hates jump scares. And I feel that.
I feel that,
I
yeah.
feel that, especially like these days, like modern horror movies like overdo jump scares to like
Mhm.
a ridiculous degree. Like some of them are worse than others. So I started her on some older horror movies, like Kurt Russell's Thing from the 80s and stuff like that. And she started to get into it. There's still some stuff she won't watch with me, but yeah, so my horror novella collection that I'm working on, I've got like 12 or 13 books plotted out. And I actually finished one. It's like 28,000 words, but the original idea is like y'all know what Goosebumps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's these really short, easily digestible horror books for kids. And I was like, well, what if I just do the same kind of thing, like make short, easy to digest, easy to read horror novellas for adults.
Mm.
So I started one on St. Patrick's Day and I finished it, 28,000 words in 28 days. And it's called,
Jesus.
I have two possible titles for it. One possible title is Blood on the Snow and the other one's Bestial. And it's about a group of 5 people who go hunting illegally for polar bears in the wilds of Alaska. And they encounter something called a Nantinak, which is the Inuit version of Bigfoot. And it just wrecks their shit. But you don't feel bad about it because like 3 of them are like shitty rich people.
Oh,
So
got it.
you're like, oh, cool. I
Yeah.
actually had like I had my wife and my friend Jessica as beta readers for it, like as I was writing it, and my wife was rooting for the not to knock the whole time. She's
Okay,
like,
I think I
"Yeah,
understand the vibe.
yeah, yeah, fuck them up, fuck them up." Okay, all right, I'll work on. It. Don't worry, don't worry, they'll get it. They'll get it.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Um, I was gonna ask. Geez, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Go ahead. Take it.
Oh, Angel,
I
it's
totally
okay.
forgot what I was gonna ask.
Maybe we shouldn't be taking these week-long breaks in between episodes sometimes.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
getting
we all fall
rusty.
out of practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I keep interrupting you, dude. I'm just like, oh crap, man. I'm like such a shitty host sometimes. Fuck.
No.
No. Okay, let me see. Okay, perfect. Long term. What's your long-term goal here with Forbidden Origins?
I mean, my long-term goal is that hopefully the company as a whole can start making some money so we can all do this for a living and quit our shitty
Mm-hmm.
jobs and
Mm-hmm.
do fun stuff for a living. I mean, don't get me wrong, work is work. Like,
Yeah.
you know, building the website and writing books and writing short stories and writing anthologies and serials and managing the blog and doing all of these different projects that, we're working on. Like it's all really hard work. Like writing
Yeah.
is not easy. And we're all doing it for free right now because we love to do it.
Yeah.
And that's great. I would love to make enough money to pay my bills and write full time. Like that's my ultimate goal is just because, capitalism going to capitalize. Like I gotta eat and I gotta pay bills.
Mm-hmm.
But just having a community of like-minded writers that we can all bounce ideas off of and just kind of do what we love. That's the second tier goal. Like I love doing that and I'm happy to do it for no money right now because that's what I've been doing my whole life. But I'm hoping that it turns into something we can turn into a full-time gig.
Yep. I definitely have faith in this company. I think if we just work together, we'll be able to get it up off the ground. I feel like it's already doing pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
But-
Yeah, and
that's
I know Eric and Armani worked their ass off.
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
they definitely do. But that's why I'm trying to play the lottery. So once I win, I can actually put some money into it, put a couple mil into the company bank account, and then I'll be able to take like a 45% share of the company once we go public. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there you go.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I just gotta win the lottery. Check.
who was the angel investor, Armani? Who got us out? Okay, who got us the money? All right. No. I think that's all of our goal is to fucking do this shit for a living. Because goddamn it, I work at Walmart. It's not like it's like the most mentally taxing job, but I'm the only guy on my team, so I'm doing all the heavy lifting. I work in the warehouse. I'm just like fuck. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like this dude that works there. He's been there for 17 years, and he barely became a team lead, and it's just like, dude, I don't want that.
Jesus.
Do you know what I'm saying? He's like
Yeah.
33. I don't
Yeah,
want
I
that
mean-
shit, man. He's been working there since he was like 17. I don't want that. I want to do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be for turning 40 this year, and I've been working in manufacturing for most of my life, and I am so tired of like coming home sweaty and like with splinters of metal stuck in my fingers and
Mhm.
back, knees all jacked up. Man, I want to sit in a chair and write fun stories and get paid for it. That would be great.
Yeah,
really
and
cool.
you know what? That background too, really like it's a good perspective too, where you're coming from, dude. Like in terms of your writing, I'm sure you could put like the things you've experienced in your life, you know, like into the like your writing from that point of view. You know, from like that's why like okay, my experience here at Walmart and the other jobs that I've had, I'm definitely gonna use like let's say I have a character who had his alter ego. He's a superhero, right? And he's working retail.
Mhm.
I'm definitely gonna use interactions I've gotten here at Walmart at like Food for Less. I don't know if you have a Food for Less where you live at. It's like a supermarket. Like I'm definitely gonna put that in like my stories, right? Like my interaction with the customer was so memorable. I'm gonna have that kind of interaction with this character. You know, your
Yeah, I feel that.
experience in manufacturing. You can have your interaction with a coworker. Have that as like a character interaction. You know what I'm saying? That's like shit like that. That's what I like. You know?
Yeah, it's like something I read online. It's like, listen, I'm a writer, and if you keep this up, you're gonna end up as a character in my
Yes.
book, and it's not gonna go well for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's a good one.
I'm definitely going to be putting a couple people, not just from Walmart, but other jobs into it as like little side characters that like pop up here and there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, same.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's that
Okay.
little theoretical revenge fantasy.
yeah.
It's like you just wait till the zombies show up, you're screwed.
Nothing too insane though, because I don't want to get sued. Nothing
Right.
too insane.
Yeah. Don't get
I
too
mean, hey,
descriptive.
it's-
Don't get too
Mhm.
targeted.
Yeah, all these, it's all purely fictional, and any resemblance to real people is purely coincidental.
Exactly.
It
Yeah,
has nothing to
exactly.
do with you. But yeah, I
Okay,
mean, I used to work at Kmart when I was like 17, and I fucking hated that job. I've worked at Kmart. I've worked like 19 different jobs. I've worked everywhere.
I worked at Disneyland, dude. That was it. That was oh my god, it was so shitty, but it was like it was also cool at the same time. You know, so
What'd
Yeah.
you do
Yeah, I
there?
couldn't imagine.
So, if any of you guys have been to Disneyland, I worked in Tomorrowland, and that was the Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. I worked that ride. It was cool. I had I had a good time. The kids made it worth it. You know what I'm saying? The kids, they would come in, they're all happy, and you're encouraged to interact with the kids and to have fun with the kids, especially when they're in line, so that they're not like bored. And there was
Oh,
a
yeah.
kid that came in dressed as Spider-Man, right? And it was one of those periods of within the park because we were having a fireworks show, and everybody likes the fireworks for one of two reasons: either you like the fireworks or you like the lack of lines because people are watching the fireworks. So this family goes with this kid, and I'm like, oh my god, Spider-Man, Venom's inside, go get him. And he goes, okay, and he just goes running into the ride, and the person's like, oh god, and they go running after him, and you can hear him giggling the entire way inside. I'm like, okay. All right. Well, then I hear, okay, they caught up to him. Sweet. All right, good. But, you know, just like little
kids
things like
thing.
that. Yeah, it made it worth it. Pay was
That's
was
nice.
ass though. Anyways,
Oh.
so
Yeah. I mean, I've always tried to like look on the bright side of whatever job that I'm in and try
Yeah.
to find something of value in it just to keep my sanity. Like I worked in a chicken processing plant during the pandemic, and I was like, at least I'm doing my part to help get food to the rest of the country.
hmm
Yeah.
It's the only thing I can hold on to right now.
Yeah, you really got to look on the bright side every time. Try to find any little thing that makes it worth it.
exactly. I worked at
But it's
Amazon during COVID.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah, that I pity. If it's even half as true as some of the stuff I've read online, it was probably awful.
Yeah.
I worked in a fulfillment warehouse. The first couple months, it was basically food and medical supplies, dude. It felt like we were at war.
Jesus.
That's all we
Yeah,
were.
it's
That's
crazy.
all we were moving through our warehouse. I was like, God damn, this is
Let
wild.
me
This is what
guess,
World
they
War
didn't
II
let
was
you
like.
take a bathroom break.
No, they did. It's funny because I read those stories too. I never had a any kind of like weird experience like that. I think it's because a lot of those stories kind of come from like the Midwest and like the South. I
Oh,
think
got it.
where I don't think workers' rights are as like as good as I don't want to say.
Existent.
I guess because California, it's not great, but it's not bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
As
don't
someone
know.
who has worked in manufacturing jobs and distribution centers in the South and Midwest, workers' rights are not really a thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then I'm probably right then. I didn't want to assume anything, Luke. I didn't want to assume anything.
You assumed correctly.
But yeah, so I remember I was working. They're like, yeah, if you got to go take a shit, go take a shit, dude. Like what the fuck? Like, don't ask, just go. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So, but yeah, honestly, dude, like I'm excited that you're here, Luke. I feel like you're gonna bring some really cool perspectives to our team. I'm excited to see what you're gonna write. I'm not trying to end the podcast. I'm just saying that like I really do like I'm really excited to like that you're here. So
No,
yeah,
I'm excited to be here. And every interaction I've had with everybody so far has been great. Like I said earlier, I'm working with Justin on doing some sketches for some of the stuff that I'm going to be putting up on the blog.
mhm,
I know Dominic is interested in, looking at different kind of like gaming things,
mhm.
and he and I are going to vibe together on that. Eric and Armani and I are working together on the blog. I mean, everybody's working together on the blog, but I've had a lot of very long conversations with them about that. Coming on the podcast with you guys, and it's just exciting. Like we're all doing really cool things, and we're so diversified already. Like for being this young in the company and having all these different ideas, like it's just we're all finding like different things that like vibe with us and that we can move forward on and use it as an opportunity to grow not just the company but ourselves as individuals.
Yep.
And the two of you need not be so down on yourselves for being new at podcasting. This is your ninth episode, so like cut yourself some slack. Like you're still learning. It'll be all
Thank,
right.
thank
Thank
Yeah.
This
you.
is my
That
first. This is my first podcast. All right, so I have
Really?
a right to be shitty.
No, you're doing great. I think you're doing better than us this episode. I'm gonna be honest.
I feel
It's just
that.
because I'm so good at talking.
All right, I got a
Yeah,
question
I
for
I
think
just
you.
talk a lot.
I got a question for you that I think will carry us to the end of the episode. How do you get
What's
past
that?
your writer's block?
great question.
Oh, geez, there's a lot of different things that I do. So one, if I'm stuck on a particular story, I have so many other stories that I could be working on that if I'm not moving forward with one, I'll pick up another one and just hit that for the day. Like, man, like I was writing the short story earlier tonight, and I got about 400 words in, and I started to drag, and I was like, I don't really know where I'm going to go with this. It's starting to suck. Oh man, it's going to be really shitty. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna go work on one of our blogs for a little bit, and we're gonna write that, and that'll carry us until the podcast starts. And it's all about giving yourself like a little bit of time, a little bit of breathing room, and understanding that if you're not there in that moment, then trying to drag yourself through it just isn't going to work. So like having a couple different projects that you can work on that are different like helps with writer's block because you might be writing something completely different and then an idea sparks and you can jump back over to the other thing. I'm also really big into having vibe music. Like there's a like there's sometimes I'll write something that's inspired by a song, not necessarily because of the lyrics, but because the whole feel of the song is what I want to translate into the story. So I'll just play the same song over and over and over again while I'm working on it, just so I can stay in that headspace and continue to write. But yeah, for me, I'm really hard on myself if I get writer's block, and 9 times out of 10, it's my wife that kicks my ass, and she tells me, "It's like, okay, well, how many words have you written today?" Oh, well, I wrote 400 words. Well, what's your daily goal? And the daily goal, we made an agreement. My daily goal is 100 words. If I get 100 words, then that's progress. But I always tease her. I'm like, oh, my daily word goal is like 5,000 words, and then she'll be like, no, it's not. Don't play this game with me. You're just trying to get beat.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
crazy.
conquering writer's block, there's a lot of different things that you can do, but you got to find what works for you. I find that you got to give yourself space. You got to understand where you are, like mentally and emotionally. Like sometimes we all work full time jobs, and sometimes the job just takes us out of it. And sometimes you can't force it. And other times you just try to get like 50 words down. Just try to write 50 words. And if after 50 words, if it was a drag the entire time, that's it. You got your 50 words, you made progress, you're good to go. Like pat yourself on the back, you got it. But a lot of those times, like if I get those first 50 words down, it's like I can do 50 more. I can do 50 more. And then I'll have like 1,000 words done in like 2 hours. Like, all right, I made some damn good progress tonight.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of
But
times
yeah,
it's even just like trouble starting is what really gets me. Like I'll be sitting there and I'm like, okay, I have some ideas, I have some stuff I want to write, but like just starting off is the worst part. But then once I get the ball rolling, I feel like it gets easier over time.
Yeah, the very beginning of the story is always the hardest part for me. I
Yeah.
don't know how many times like I've started off and like just clunked my way through the first paragraph and then the story started to pick up. And by the time I get to the end of the story, I'm like, I'm good to go. And I'll go back and I'll delete the first paragraph or completely rewrite it just because I know it's
Mhm.
shitty. But a lot of times it's just getting started. Just try to
Yeah.
get 50 words down so you have a point to start because you can edit you can edit a page. You can edit
Yeah.
a page, but you can't do anything with a blank page.
Great quote. I
Yeah,
like that.
I like that. It's a good
Thanks.
place
I'm
to end
pretty
it.
sure I stole it from somebody else.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that before, but it is very true.
Yeah,
And
that's a good place to I think to leave off. That's actually really fucking good.
yeah,
No,
Sounds good to me.
Angel, no,
I'm
no, but you're gonna
speechless.
say something. Finish what you're gonna say.
Okay, I was gonna loop back around to the question I forgot earlier. I was gonna say, what got you into writing? If there's any books
Uh,
that like you liked reading or something.
so when I was a little kid, my dad used to read me a series of books by Terry Brooks called the Shannara series.
Oh yeah, I've heard of
Mm,
that.
And, my dad worked like 10, 12-hour days a lot of times. So he would come home and he would read to me before bed and he would fall asleep reading to me. And then he said that like one day he woke up and I was just like reading the book myself. So because he kept on falling asleep, so I started picking it up by myself. And then he would give me a dictionary and he would just give me the book and just let me go to town. When I came across a word I didn't know, I would look it up in the dictionary and figure out what it meant. And that's what started. I was reading like 500-600 page books when I was in third and fourth grade.
Jeez.
So yeah, what got me into writing was reading. I read a bunch and I started writing my own stories. And there was a while there where I thought I wanted to get into video game design because I really
Mm,
love video games. And I realized like the coding and like the creating the visuals and all that, that wasn't really what I loved about video games. It was the stories. I like the
mm-hmm.
stories of the video games.
Got
And if a
it.
video game didn't have a good story, I wasn't super into it. That's why I like role playing games like Final Fantasy and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And once that kind of clicked for me as like a teenager, that I was like, okay, we're gonna try to do this writing thing. And I've just been practicing ever since then.
That's really cool. Did you ever write any video games? Any video game stories that you thought?
I I have some stories that were inspired by video games, that's for
Oh, got it.
sure. There's something I plotted out. It's called Altered Terror that was heavily inspired by the Resident Evil games.
Hmm. Never actually played those, but I've heard nothing but good things.
Angel, what have you
Oh,
played,
I
man?
mean,
What have you played? What have you watched? That you never watch or
Dude,
play or do
I know.
anything.
I
What?
feel like every time any sort of media gets brought up, I'm like, oh, I've never actually seen that.
Angel, why are you here?
That's what I don't know, man.
I'm just playing with you,
Hey,
dude. I'm
Luke, you can
playing.
take over.
I'm
Luke,
playing. I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm
no,
playing.
no, I know.
uh-oh.
Oh, what the heck? Oh no, did he actually leave? Why did he leave?
You.
Oh
You
no, he's
chased them
back.
off.
Whoa,
He's
sorry
back.
about that. I
Oh
lagged
no.
out for a
It's all,
second.
I was like, oh,
um,
did he actually bounce? I was like, no,
you
Angel.
hurt his feelings.
I think I got cut off mid sentence. I was gonna say, I'm the type of person where like if I find something like a show, a movie, game, or whatever that I like, I'll just like replay the same thing over and over again instead of like branching out and finding
Hmm.
new stuff.
I mean, sometimes you just find something that clicks with you, and that's fine too.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's great.
Not everybody has like really diverse interests.
Hmm.
yeah. And also the problem is like a lot of things like seem cool, and I'm like, oh, I would love to get into that, but it's just hard like for me to get into new stuff.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, my one of my friends has been trying to get me to watch Altered Carbon on
Hmm.
Netflix for like
Mm.
years, and it sounds like he's like, "You'll love it. It's like a cyberpunk thing. It's super sci-fi. Like it's right up your alley." I'm like, "Yeah, it's on my list of things to watch." But whenever it comes across my feed, I'm like, not right now.
Yeah,
I
I'm the
don't know if I
exact
want to
same way.
invest in it right now. Instead, I'm
Yeah,
going to watch the show that I've seen a million times that I know is going to give me the dopamine that I'm
yep,
looking for.
yep. I'm the exact same way.
Oh my god, that was funny. Dude, I'm still stuck on the fact that you lied. I was like, fuck, this guy leave.
Dude, that was great comedic timing by my computer.
That's it. podcast over.
I quit.
Actually, you know what? Where are we at? We're at 55. You guys want to call it? Or anything
Yeah,
else?
I think we're
Sure.
good. But yeah, I just wanted to say that I think you guys are doing a great job. I think you're building on something here, and the more episodes you do, the better it's going to feel, the better it's going to get. And you guys are doing great. Just keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. That
Thank you
means
Bring
a
for
me
lot.
having
back
me on.
on sometime.
Oh, we definitely will.
Oh, you're welcome on here anytime.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
be around. That's for sure. Whenever you're short a guest, can you just let me know? I can talk for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, no. I honestly I feel that because like we always try and get one of our writers Jay to get on because I want him to go on like a DC rant because he's really into DC, but the guy
Yeah.
just won't respond to anything. No,
Yeah.
no, we're always busy.
Yeah, it's always conflicting schedules.
Yeah, and time zones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and time zones. Yeah, like
That's a
for me,
big
it's
one.
it's 8:30 here right now.
Jesus.
damn, what time it's 6:30 for us, right? Angel,
Yeah,
basically.
6:30
Yeah.
for us, but I work nights, so I should actually be asleep. Except I don't work tomorrow, so I could stay up late.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us for the podcast, episode 9 of Forbidden Radio. Me, Noah, Angel, and our newest member of the team, Luke. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, peace out, guys.
Later.
Peace out. It's good to be here.